I never imagined I would be writing this story. Not because it's unbelievable, but because it's the kind of pain no one wants to admit exists. Yet here I am, telling the truth. I brought the woman I love to the UK, hoping for a new beginning, and she left me broken and alone. We met in Lagos, and it felt like destiny. She was beautiful, ambitious, and full of life. Her laugh could light up a room, and her smile made everyone around her happy. We got married after 2 years, and I thought life couldn't get better. I imagined us exploring London together, building a family, and sharing dreams. The first few months after she arrived were everything I hoped for. We visited London's landmarks, took walks along the Thames, and shared countless happy moments. But slowly, I began to notice changes. She started staying out late, returning home smelling of perfume that wasn't mine. Conversations grew short, arguments started over trivial things, and the warmth in our home disappeared. I tried to be supportive, telling myself it was the stress of settling in a new country. I wanted her to be happy, and I thought patience would help. But deep down, I felt her drifting away, and it terrified me. Then came the night that shattered my world. I returned home early from work, feeling uneasy for no reason I could name. As I opened the door, I heard laughter, her laughter, but different, flirty and reckless. I froze in the hallway, my heart sinking as I realized what I was hearing. She was on the couch, laughing with another man. When she noticed me, her eyes widened, not with fear or guilt, but with something else, something I didn't recognize anymore. In that instant, I felt my entire life collapse. When I confronted her, her words were sharp and final. I can't do this anymore. I thought I could, but I can't. I don't love you the way you think I do. Those words pierced me deeper than anything else ever could. The betrayal wasn't just emotional, it was humiliating. She soon filed for divorce, telling me she wanted to stay in the UK, build her own life, and that I had done nothing wrong. But I knew the truth. She had changed the moment she stepped into this new world. I was left alone in the apartment we had dreamed about together, surrounded by memories that now felt like weapons against me. Every corner reminded me of what I had lost, every photograph a cruel reminder of the life we were supposed to have. In the months since, I've tried to rebuild my life. I moved to a smaller flat, started focusing on work, and sought therapy to make sense of the heartbreak. But some nights, I still hear her laughter echoing in my head. I wonder if I could have done something differently, if I could have saved us. The truth I've learned is harsh. Love alone is not enough. Trust, respect, and honesty are the foundation of any relationship. Without them, even the strongest love can crumble. I brought her to the UK with dreams of a future together, only to discover that sometimes, people change, circumstances change, and the person you love the most can leave when you least expect it. I share this story not just to recount my pain, but to warn anyone who believes love alone can conquer everything. It can't. And when it ends, it leaves scars that take years to heal. Part 2, The Cracks Widen. After she left, the apartment felt like a tomb. I would sit in the living room, staring at the walls we had painted together, at the couch we had chosen as a couple, and wonder how it all fell apart so fast. At first, I couldn't eat, couldn't sleep. The emptiness of the flat mirrored the emptiness I felt inside. Days turned into weeks. I kept myself busy at work, throwing myself into projects, meetings, and deadlines. But even the noise of the city outside couldn't drown out the silence of the home I once shared. And as I tried to focus on anything else, I began to notice something I hadn't seen before, small hints that maybe she wasn't gone entirely. Her social media accounts were active, of course. I never used to check them, but now I found myself scrolling through posts, photos, and stories, each one a punch to the gut. She was smiling, laughing, meeting new people. London was clearly treating her well. A part of me wanted to hate her for it, to blame her for moving on so fast, but I also couldn't deny the sting of jealousy. One evening, as I sat at my desk working late, my phone buzzed. A message from an unknown number. Are you the one she left behind? My hands trembled as I stared at the screen. How did this person know me? I typed back, my fingers hesitant. Who is this? The reply came almost immediately. You should be careful. She's not who you think she is. I froze. My heart raced. Was it a prank? A stalker? Or was there more to her living than I realized? The words dug into me like a knife. I wanted to delete the message, to ignore it, but a part of me couldn't let it go. I had to know. The next days were a blur of anxiety and sleepless nights. I tried to reach her, called her multiple times, sent messages, but there was no reply. The flat that used to feel like home now felt like a trap. Every time the door opened or closed, I jumped, half expecting her to walk in. But she never did. Then, one Thursday morning, I got a friend request on social media from a man I didn't know. His profile was private, but the name seemed familiar. I clicked through cautiously and realized he was connected to her, more than connected. They were close. Too close. A part of me wanted to confront her, to scream at her for what she had done, for what she was doing now. But another part of me knew it was pointless. Whatever she was doing, I wasn't a part of it anymore. She had chosen a life without me, and I had no control over her decisions. Still, the messages and the mystery man kept me awake at night. I couldn't stop thinking about what I had missed, what I had done wrong, and whether there were things she had been hiding from me all along. The suspense, the not knowing, was worse than any betrayal I could have imagined. I began noticing other changes too. Friends who had once been close started to distance themselves, as if they couldn't handle my heartbreak. Even work became harder, I couldn't concentrate. Every time I saw a couple walking hand in hand, I felt a punch in my chest. The world seemed to mock me with happiness I no longer had. Then came the day I received the email. It was short, almost clinical. Divorce proceedings have begun. You will receive the paperwork soon. I sat at my desk, staring at the screen, unable to move. My hands shook, my vision blurred. After everything, the move, the dreams, the promises, she had made a decision that would end us entirely. And the worst part. I still didn't know why. I realized, in that moment, that this story wasn't just about love lost. It was about control, or the lack of it. I had tried to build a future, to protect our relationship, to make her happy, and yet it had all crumbled. And as I sat there, staring at the email, I knew that the suspense, the unanswered questions, and the pain were far from over. This was just the beginning of what I would later call the hardest chapter of my life. The divorce was more than paperwork, it was a revelation. Every document, every conversation, every meeting would bring me closer to understanding her choices, and yet further from the comfort I once had. Even now, as I write this, I can feel the tension building. The weeks ahead would be filled with confrontations, hidden truths, and a reality I was not prepared for. And as the story unfolded, I realized that sometimes the people we love the most are the ones who teach us the hardest lessons, not out of malice, but because life is unpredictable, and choices have consequences. Part 3. The Divorce and Hidden Truths. The day the divorce papers arrived, I felt like my chest had been crushed. Holding the envelope in my hands, I realized that this piece of paper carried the power to erase everything I had built, everything I had believed in. The life we had dreamed of together, the love I thought would last forever, all gone. Signing those papers was the hardest thing I've ever done. Not because I didn't want to move on, but because it felt like admitting defeat. Every signature, every line, felt like another nail in the coffin of my marriage. I wanted to scream, to plead, to make her understand that this wasn't just about her, it was about us, the life we had promised each other. But she was gone, physically and emotionally. The meetings with lawyers were tense. I learned things I had never known, details she had kept from me, financial decisions she had made, contacts she had formed. Each revelation was like a punch to the gut. One evening, my lawyer handed me a folder, and I opened it to find messages, photos, and documents showing her meeting men behind my back, lying about where she was, and even making plans that didn't include me. I felt numb. I wanted to rage, to confront her, to demand answers. But deep down, I knew it wouldn't matter. She had chosen her path, and there was no turning back. Then came the confrontation. I arranged a meeting with her at a neutral place, the cafe in central London. I wanted one last chance to understand, to hear from her directly why everything had fallen apart. When she arrived, she looked different, confident, untouchable, completely detached. Why? I asked, my voice barely a whisper. She looked at me calmly. Why what? Why me? Why us? I brought you here, tried to give you everything, and you just walked away. She sighed. It's not about you. It's not about anyone. I realized I wanted something else, something different. I needed freedom. I needed to be me, not your wife. Her words hit me harder than I expected. Freedom. Independence. Those were the words I never had when I thought we were building a life together. The life I had imagined, the sacrifices I had made, meant nothing. The weeks after that meeting were a blur. The courts, the paperwork, the final hearings, it all moved like a nightmare I couldn't wake up from. But the emotional toll was worse than the legal battles. Every time I saw her in public, or heard rumors about her new life, I felt the wound reopen. And then came the twist I didn't see coming. One afternoon, a friend of hers, someone I barely knew, approached me. You should know the truth, he said. She wasn't planning to stay here with you long term. This was all part of her plan. I stared at him, confused, heart pounding. What do you mean? She wanted to get to the UK, yes. But she never wanted to be with you here. She wanted opportunities, connections, new life. You were just part of the plan. The betrayal cut deeper than anything else. I had loved her, trusted her, brought her into a new world, and it turned out I was just a stepping stone. A means to an end. The anger, the sorrow, the disbelief, all of it crashed over me like a wave I couldn't escape. I realized then that the story of my marriage wasn't just about love, it was about illusions. I had built a life in my head, believing that love alone could protect me from heartbreak. I had ignored the signs, trusted blindly, and now I was paying the price. By the time the divorce was finalized, I was empty. The apartment was mine again, but it felt hollow. The streets of London, once filled with dreams and adventures, now reminded me of loss and betrayal. I tried to pick up the pieces, to focus on work, to rebuild my social life, but nothing seemed to fill the void she left. Sometimes, late at night, I wonder if she thinks about what she did. Does she feel any remorse? Or was it always just business, strategy, an opportunity for her? I may never know. And that, perhaps, is the cruelest part. Some truths are hidden, and some questions never get answered. Part 4. Picking up the pieces. The divorce was final. The papers were signed, the legal battles over. Yet the silence that followed was deafening. I had imagined freedom would bring relief, but all I felt was emptiness. My home, my routines, even the bustling streets of London seemed foreign without her. At first, I tried to numb the pain. I threw myself into work, taking on extra projects and staying late in the office. I surrounded myself with friends, laughed at jokes I didn't really hear, and pretended everything was okay. But every quiet moment reminded me of what I had lost. The apartment echoed with memories. A coffee cup still sat on the counter, the one she had used every morning. A jacket hung by the door that I hadn't worn since she left. Time passed, and slowly, I began to understand that healing wouldn't come from ignoring the pain. I started seeing a therapist, someone who helped me untangle the mess of betrayal, grief, and anger that had taken over my mind. It wasn't easy. Some days I wanted to give up, to let the bitterness take me over. But I forced myself to confront the reality. Life doesn't wait for us to recover, it moves forward whether we're ready or not. I also learned to reflect, to examine my own choices. I realized that bringing her to the UK was an act of love, yes, but it was also naive. I had thought love alone could sustain us in a foreign land, but I had ignored the importance of compatibility, values, and communication. Sometimes, heartbreak is a lesson in disguise. Months later, I met someone new, not to replace her, but to remind myself that life continues. A woman who appreciated me for who I was, not just the life I could provide. Slowly, I began to smile again, not the forced smiles that once hid the pain, but genuine ones. I explored new hobbies, reconnected with friends I had neglected, and started seeing London not as a place of heartbreak, but as a city of second chances. Yet, the memories remained. I would never forget her, the way she laughed, the dreams we shared, or the way everything fell apart. But I realized that my story wasn't just about betrayal or loss. It was about resilience. It was about learning that life doesn't always turn out the way we imagine, and the people we trust the most can leave when we least expect it. I share this story because I know there are others like me, people who have given their all only to face disappointment and heartbreak. It's a warning, yes, but also a lesson. Don't let betrayal define you. Don't let loss steal your dreams. You can rebuild. You can grow stronger. And most importantly, you can survive. Looking back, I see now that bringing her to the UK was both my greatest hope and my greatest lesson. It showed me love's power, but also its fragility. It reminded me that life is unpredictable, and that even when people leave, we must find the courage to continue. I am not the same person I was before. I am stronger, wiser, and more careful with my heart. And while the pain never fully disappears, it becomes part of the story, a story of love, betrayal, heartbreak, and ultimately, survival. So, if you're listening to this story, remember this: life doesn't end when someone leaves. It begins again, in ways you might not yet see. And one day, when you least expect it, you'll find yourself laughing, loving, and living fully again.